Quick question. What if I told you getting a high-paying finance job has almost nothing to do with your GPA, your school pedigree, or who your dad plays golf with? I've helped thousands of people from small towns, non-target schools, without finance backgrounds, land finance jobs, including roles at investment banks, private equity firms, venture capital firms, and hedge funds, even if they had zero connections. So if you're someone who's trying to pivot from a totally different industry, be it engineering, software development, or anything else, into finance and have zero idea how, or if you're early in your career looking to land your first high-paying job in finance post-graduation, listen ahead. My name is Chris Haroon. I started my finance career at Goldman Sachs in New York City. Then I worked at the most successful hedge funds, started my own hedge fund, and worked in venture capital in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I was fortunate enough to invest in companies like Facebook before they went public. And I've raised and managed over $1 billion in my career. But what I'm most proud about is helping over 1 million students fast-track their careers in finance, many of whom now work at the top finance companies. For example, we helped Vicente land an investment banking job in New York City at Goldman Sachs, even though he didn't go to a target school. And thanks to his base, bonus, and signing package, he made well over $150,000 in his first year. And Brian started his own asset management business and raised over $10 million in his first year. Also, Mateo got a job working at a top private equity firm, and Isaiah got his dream job working for a venture capital firm. And as someone who spent decades working in every facet of the financial industry, I can tell you that these are career launchpads with 7-figure potential and massive exposure. The key to what you'll learn today doesn't just come from my experience landing roles at top finance companies. It comes from the other side of the table, meaning the hiring decisions. Because of the humble success I've had, I was trusted to choose who got interviews and who got offers and who did not. And I know exactly what these firms look for, what makes somebody stand out, and what gets them instantly disqualified. And in just a minute, I'm going to walk you through it. But before I walk you through the system, let's talk about why well under 5% of applicants ever get an offer for top jobs at places like Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, or Goldman Sachs. The reason might be, you didn't go to Wharton. You don't have an uncle that works at Morgan Stanley. Your dad doesn't golf with managing directors. And honestly, you might not even have a finance degree. And that's especially the case for folks who are trying to pivot from another career, be it software engineering or medicine, into finance. But even for those who already know they want to enter finance, you've already tried emailing contacts at these banks with no responses. You've showed up to networking events where everybody else already seems to know someone while you're just standing there feeling awkward. You've watched all the same YouTube advice telling you to polish your resume, learn the technicals, network, etc. Yeah, no kidding. But here you are, 50 applications deep, and still hearing crickets. And if you do land the interview, then what? How do you speak their language when you've never worked in finance? What do you say when they start rapidly firing technical questions at you? And let's be real, most people watching this aren't DCF experts or modeling machines with a CFA under their belt. You're balancing school or work. You don't have 20 extra hours a week to just figure this stuff out. And I get it, because that was my life too. I was an immigrant. My family had no connections. They didn't even know what an investment bank was. They just wanted me to find my job. And somehow, I landed at Goldman Sachs in my 20s, before making millions of dollars humbly in personal compensation and finance. Not because I was a genius, not because I had a perfect resume. It's because I figured out the real game being played behind the scenes. You don't need an Ivy League degree. You don't need to be a technical wizard. And you definitely don't need to know somebody. You need a system, a real strategy to beat 99% of applicants who are doing it all wrong. And that's exactly what I'm going to share with you today. Pillar number 1 is strategic positioning. Most of you did not come from a target school. You didn't major in finance. And a lot of you are trying to pivot from a completely different career or break into high finance as your very first role out of school, which means when your resume lands on the desk of a recruiter at Goldman Sachs or KKR, it's going to look way weaker than the kid who went to Wharton with a 4.0 GPA and 2 family connections at the firm. So what do? You strategically position yourself and tell a story that's stronger than your resume. And that means reframing your background, your part-time jobs, your side hustles, social clubs, leadership roles, or even your career in a totally different industry as signals of the exact traits finance firms actually care about: leadership, pattern recognition, grit, the ability to communicate under pressure, and the hunger to learn fast and execute even faster. Now, I've helped former athletes, retail workers, engineers, and teachers, people with zero finance experience, land interviews at firms not because they faked it, but because they learned to frame their real story in the right way. And they got interviews and jobs at elite firms too. And they didn't need to become someone they're not. They just needed to show how who they already are is exactly who these firms want. I helped Vicente, who graduated from a state university and worked a couple of years in accounting, get an associate level investment banking job at Goldman Sachs in the same start class as Harvard Business School students. Pillar number 2, the technical edge. Let's be honest, finance interviews are brutal, but the dirty secret is 80% of interviewers ask the same 20 questions over and over again. And most people waste weeks trying to memorize every accounting term on Investopedia. That's not how you win. The key is mastering just a handful of technical concepts, DCFs, LBOs, comps, and merger models, in a way that actually sticks. Not cramming, not note memorization, but actually thinking like an investor. And that means 2 things. Number 1, you can confidently build or walk through a basic financial model. You understand the mechanics, cash flow, discount rates, terminal value, synergies, debt schedules, cap tables. You're not faking it. You've done the reps. But even more importantly though, you know how to translate those numbers into plain English. And that is what 90% of candidates miss. It's not enough to just build a DCF. You need to explain what it means. For example, if a company's cash flow is dropping every year, that's a red flag. You have to ask, what's causing it? And if you were investing millions, would you still bet on that trend continuing? Or sometimes a stock looks cheap, but when you dig in, it's because a company has huge problems under the surface. Lower profits, unhappy customers, weak leadership. How does that change your assessment of investing in that company at that price point? And this is what separates a sophisticated jockey from someone who belongs in the room. It's not just about being able to do the math. It's about understanding the why behind the numbers and having the confidence to talk about them like a deal maker. You don't need to be a modeling machine, I promise you. But you do need to think and communicate like someone who's already on the team. Pillar number 3 is insider access. Now, most people try to break into finance by spamming job boards or firing off 100 applications into the void. Then they wonder why they never hear back. And some of them get a little bit more aggressive, sending dozens of cold DMs on LinkedIn or trying to network at virtual events. Still nothing. Why? Because these firms aren't just hiring resumes. They're hiring people who already feel like they're part of the team, people they know or people they trust through someone they know. And you don't build that kind of trust by copy and pasting your resume into someone's inbox. It doesn't work that way. You build it by penetrating the inner circle strategically, and that is what we call reverse engineering access. It's not about more messages. It's about the right message to the right person at the right time, followed by the right relationship play. Here's how that looks in action. You figure out exactly which analysts or associates to target because they're the ones who can get your resume seen. You craft a message that shows that you've done your research, that respects their time, and that actually sparks a real conversation. Then you follow up strategically, not pushy and not passive. And when the timing is right, you move the conversation from cold to warm and from warm to referral. We've had students get referred by a random LinkedIn connection they followed up with for months. Turn a cold email into a coffee invite that led directly to an interview. Join niche Discord groups, comment intelligently on threads, and land intros to hiring managers. Now, this is not networking, this is surgical relationship building. And when you do it right, you stop hoping somebody picks you, and you start getting invited to interviews most people didn't even know existed. This is how you go through the back door and land roles that were never posted in the first place. Now, imagine this. You're earning $150,000 straight out of the gate, and double, even triple that a few years down the road. Imagine waking up in your high-rise apartment, walking into an office with your name on the deal sheet. You're not just surviving, you're building wealth. You're flying business class. You're investing, not just saving. You're helping your family instead of asking for help. And yeah, status should matter too. But when somebody asks where you work and you say Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, it hits different. And that's okay, because you did not get lucky. You learned the system and you earned everything you received. But at this point, you've got 2 options. Option number 1, you keep going it alone. You keep watching random YouTube videos. You keep guessing what to say in interviews. And you keep firing off resumes into the void, hoping somebody finally picks you. But the reality? Well under 5% of applicants land these roles. And the longer you wait, the more competitive it gets. The picture I painted for you earlier looks far less likely if this is the path you choose. But with option number 2, you get help. You get help from somebody who's actually done it, from someone who's worked at these firms and hired for these roles and built a proven system that's helped thousands of people just like you break in. You don't have to wing this anymore. So if you're serious about breaking into high finance and you're done trying to figure this out by yourself, then here's what you need to do next. Click the button on this page and book a call with my team. On that call, we'll take a look at where you are right now, what your background is, what you've tried so far. Then we'll map out a step-by-step strategy to help you land roles only others dream about, whether it be investment banking, hedge funds, private equity, or venture capital. Even if you have zero connections or don't come from a target school, book a call below now.